Now, we're already delivering our Addressing Depopulation Action Plan by working with local authorities to support local priorities around population attraction and retention. And we'll launch Scotland's migration service before the end of this year to support employers navigating the UK immigration system, to recruit internationally and to support individuals seeking to relocate to Scotland. But we're clear that Scotland's distinct demographic and economic needs require a tailored approach to migration, and so we urge a collaborative approach to be implemented between the Scottish and UK governments to develop that tailored route that would benefit Scotland's economy, our public services and our communities. Now, this Parliament previously endorsed a tailored migration approach for Scotland, and that included in voicing its strong support for our rural visa pilot proposal. And it's important to note that this, or a Scottish visa, could be delivered within the current UK immigration system to address population and workforce issues across a range of sectors and regions within Scotland. The Fresh Talent Initiative, delivered in collaboration between previous Scottish and UK governments, is a model example of how that could be done. UK government policies could also limit labour migration in areas of Scotland that already face challenges of depopulation. The availability of an appropriately skilled workforce is vital, but EU exit and the loss of the single market has compounded difficulties faced by rural employers in recruiting skilled workers. And even
so it's not going to be a 2-hour stream, just some of the things you come across via Holyrood / Scottish Parliament. Anyway, I'm joined by Sensum briefly. So, what's your thoughts on that as an Englishman?
I honestly don't know what that woman was blathering on about, because it was just complete and utter word salad. Yeah, there was no rhyme or reason to anything that she was saying. It was just complete and utter illiteracy when it comes to whether it's immigration or not. It's just like, oh, we need to have hurty fees for this one and that one and this one and that one. And it's like, what is your point? I was unable to discern any kind of point from what this woman was actually saying. That's my top line overview.
I mean, do you know, I mean, there's so many things that, like, when I recorded that video the other day, that I could dissect. But just to your point, you are actually correct. Like, it's word salad, reading off a script, etc., etc. But what really fucking annoys me, and has annoyed me for years, is this consistent claim that Scotland needs its own devolved immigration powers, etc., which seems to, like, disregard all of the time that the UK was part of the European Union, which would have, by extension, given us the privilege, here, quote unquote, to freedom of movement, you know. But even post allegedly leaving the EU, even to this day, when we talk about like 1 million plus people moving to the UK, migration wise, the vast majority of them moved to England, which in and of itself is pretty unfortunate and, dare I say, repulsive. But it's just, these people seem to speak to no end about, oh, we need our own devolved immigration powers, you know, because the rural and Highland and Islands communities are suffering. I am a Highlander. I'm a fucking Highlander, and I don't want to see my city streets, nor do I wish to move or vacate or visit any towns further up north and find myself the minority in relation to ethnicity status. Like, there's so much to unpick from that. I just find it really fucking frustrating that the SNP, that even there's just the Scottish government in general, the Scottish Parliament, all they do is blame Westminster, you know. And this comes back, and I'll let you jump in here. This does genuinely come back to like the old cliche argument that you've seen for years. Ethnat versus Wignat, you know, like I don't want to go to like places further north from where I reside and come across a town full to the brim of Polish people. The same way I wouldn't want to fucking go to a town further north from where I reside and come face to face with a bunch of cunts from fucking Senegal, you know. But yeah, this is the S&P. We need the depopulation action plan. They've been talking about this for years, and it's just, where's the focus on trying to reverse the birth rate, which is, you know, below replacement rate? Where is the focus, educationally speaking, to try and encourage, incentivize, promote, or the very bare minimum, just sort of showcase that motherhood isn't exactly a net deficit? Where is all that? I don't know. Sensum, you're free to do your thing, mate.
I just don't get where the thing is, when it comes to native Scottish people, and I mean that in the truest of sense, whenever you see any form of literature or advertising with regards to, how can we put it, baby deletion, all you will ever see are ginger birds with fucking green eyes or blue eyes. Yeah? All the way through, you'll just... Well, it's true. It's true. I'm not fucking telling lies.
They know what ginger is.
Yeah? They're all fucking gingers. They're all fucking green-eyed or blue-eyed. Beautiful, beautiful flaxen fucking beautiful women. And it's like, oh yeah, want to ghost your baby? Get your fucking self down to the local fucking SMP clinic and we'll delete that fucking white nationalist straight away, yeah? Whenever it's to do with the family unit, all you see is a black bloke and a white woman, or a white or a black woman and a white man, you know, with a fucking chocolate-coloured arrangement of kids. And the thing is, with these people that talk about immigration, it's like, yes, well, Scotland needs to have its own immigration laws over and above that of Westminster, which has been fucking horrific for the last fuck knows how many decades, since Maggie Thatcher got booted, put it that way, at the very least. We need controls over our own immigration because Scotland's, replacement rate of births is even lower than the national norm because we propagandize them to such levels whereby, you know, we can replace Tam with Tyrone, you know, 1-for-1. That's going to be great for our country, and it isn't. It isn't. It's an absolute disaster. It's a disaster waiting to happen. And the problem is, whenever you think about it in the form of the diaspora of the nation, so yes, there's been a Scottish diaspora, and in fairness, DJ, you'll probably say this yourself, in the most part, it's been fairly hostile, especially the Highlanders, to the English diaspora.
Yeah.
But then again, you know, that's no different to the Welsh diaspora being particularly hostile to the English diaspora. And again, when it comes to Northern Ireland, particularly the left-footers, as we used to call them in Northern Ireland, you know, having the same opinion. You know, the Ulstermen, as it were, the Protestants, you know, they're all on side with the English diaspora. But at the end of the day, you know, and this is one of the reasons why we need to get past those colloquial, and I'm not saying that to be derogatory to the local, you know, peoples. We need to be a little bit more focused on the nations as a whole, irrespective of our differences, because, put it this way, a Scotland that is full of fucking Somalians and Senegalese and fucking Indians and fucking Pakistanis, yeah, pointing the finger at England, it isn't more Scottish than a fucking Scottish nation pointing the finger at England. Similarly, you could have 100% Scottish nation pointing the finger at England, but if England becomes fucking Pakistan minor, which is what it's liable to be in the next, couple of decades, what is Scotland bitching about? Because you're not bitching about English people anymore, are you? Because they're not fucking English. It's like, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and the same with the Welsh people. Historically, the Scots, the Welsh, the Irish have a grudge to bear against the English. And that's basically because at the end of the day, apart from when we got booted in the arse in 1066 by the French, or the Normandy, shall we say, we could hold our fucking own. And then, in foreign lands in 1776 over in the Americas or wherever it is, where old Donald Trump is now, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live here. It's going to be a great election, folks. I know, because I'm in it. Kamala Harris, she's an evil person. If she gets a single vote, she voted for us. It's like, English people, we can't win. We literally can't fucking win, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're some fucking Johnny come lately from fucking Jamaica, from Ghana, from Guyana, from fucking South Africa, from fucking who gives the fuck wherever, Mtembe cunt. You're going to land on these shores and you're going to hate fucking England. So English people have got no fucking chance, because, naturalized Scots, Indigenous Scottish people hate English. Indigenous Welsh people hate English. The rest of the fucking world hates English because we were successful. So as far as I'm concerned, this fucking whore who you brought up earlier on, she's advocating for less Scottish people. In other words, less of those flaxen, green-eyed, blue-eyed women, and more of those fucking Alf-looking atrocities, that fucking puzzle-faced bitch who you normally bring up on your streams. Fucking bent-faced, fucking inbred cunt from Pakistan. That's what they're advocating for, mate. You know what I mean? Well, I, for one, I don't want that for Scotland. Do you?
Yeah, fuck. I'm gonna ask you a question in a second there, but I just want that this was obviously like the point of this wee tiny pre-recorded stream here, but if my laptop would load, immigration fuels Scotland's biggest population increase since the 1940s. This was an article from the 8th of October. Immigration is obviously
well. It's to be sure, DJ. They weren't fucking German, were they?
No, but obviously, Scotland. Like, if we were to look at the UK as a whole in its entirety, about, I don't know, arguably speaking, about 60 to 70% of all immigration year upon year, annually speaking, goes to England. That's a no-brainer. So it's even when you read those articles, like the one I just posted, the fucking headline off there, he goes on to talk 40,000 people. Oh yeah, 40,000. But Scotland's population is pretty tiny. But no, I want to ask you a wee question though. It's obviously immigration in and of itself is an issue for everybody who isn't living with their head beneath the metaphorical sand. But is it for you an issue irrespective of nation and whatnot, where they come from? White, black, brown, yellow. I think there's just far too many people coming to the UK in and of itself. Personally, I don't give a fuck what color you are. I don't give a fuck what religion you follow. Just no, too much. But for you, it's would you have the same issue with people moving to the UK you know, in and of itself, if they were white, so to speak, provided they were Christian and or if they were white? Or is it just, for you personally, just fuck off? Like, no, we need to lift the drawbridge for a time. Curious what you have to say about that.
I would say that if they were original stock American, original stock Australian, and in other words, not original Australians, because those, well, the Abos, they're fucking 60 IQ, so we don't want those cunts. But I would say this, yeah, if when I'm talking about the colonies, yeah, sure, when they talk about the colonialism, I'm thinking about, you know, the Anglosphere. So the original white diaspora that went to the Americas, including Canada, the original white diaspora that went to Australia, including New Zealand, then if they wanted to return back to their ancestors' homelands, I would have less of a problem with that than what I would do with, say, you know, Far Eastern Russian, for instance. Yes, we may be white, but we have a completely different set of values. The same with Georgians, the same with fucking Estonians and Albanians. I mean, most of the fucking problems that occur these days are because of these gangs that exist from those Far Eastern countries. So if we put it this way, right, if we were to make a world agreement, shall we say, whereby we fuck off every single cunt from the British Isles who is foreign, and I mean that in the real sense, and we would accept in equal numbers all of the people who were from you know, Australian, the original Australian, the European diaspora that went to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, North America, etc., the founding fathers, shall we say, then, yeah, you know, because our values would be pretty much aligned with one another. That wouldn't extend so much to, you know, the Far East of Europe. You know, these guys are great. I've got no problem with them, but they don't have the same sort of values that we do because of the way that their cultures and their history evolved. So obviously I'm going to want a country that is more reflective of my values and my nation's spirit, shall we say, than Polish, for instance. I've got no problem whatsoever with the Poles, good people, strong people. Poles should be in Poland. Yeah, I've got no issue whatsoever with you know, Swedish people. You know, Swedish, the Nordics, the fucking Vikings, great people. You need to be fucking Vikings in your own country. You don't need to be fucking here. So,
amen.
So for me, you know, there's a great difference between somebody just saying, "Oh yeah, you just want white people." It's like, no, for me personally, I want white people who are from the, you know, what were the so-called the former colonies that we fucking sent out there and can prove their heritage back to those original fucking founding fathers, whether that be American, whether it be Australian, whether it be New Zealand, whether it be Canadian, or another, yeah, because they will share that same sense of genetic cohesiveness over and above any other fucker. Doesn't matter if they're from Estonia or from Latvia or from fucking Iceland or wherever, you know. I mean, Iceland, you know, you got some great looking fucking ladies there, haven't you? I mean, they are the most perfect of Viking people, but I'd still rather take a boatload of fucking Tennesseans, founding fathers from America first, yeah, than people who are from the Nordic nations, because they won't have that same mindset. It's a shared commonality. It is that same shared commonality. And for as much as the Welsh would like to hate England, and for as much as the Northern Ireland saw it as, not so much the Northern Irish, but Ireland in general, shall we say, and the same with Scottish, you know, everybody wants to try and dissolve things into these little pigeonholes, but at the end of the day, people who evolved from these islands, these British islands, it doesn't matter if you're Scotland, England, or Wales, or Northern Ireland, or Ireland in general, even though that would piss off somebody like my friend 42, etc. You know, for me, it's more important that we have that commonality of, if nothing more, the geolocation. Because why is that important? Why is geolocation important? Because we've suffered the same fucking hardships. Yeah?
Aye.
We've suffered the same fucking hardships. We've suffered the same fucking, lacking, if you like, in what we could provide or as a nation, yeah? That wasn't the same from mainland Europe. It wasn't the same from France. It wasn't the same from the fucking Spaniards and the Italians or whatever. They had their own challenges. They weren't the same as ours. When we fucked off on the Mayflower to America, when they landed on those islands, and in fairness, in a lot of instances, the local Indian populations left them the fuck alone, because they looked at them and goes, yeah, those cunts are going to fail fucking straight away because they have no fucking idea. And a lot of them did. But those who survived, they became stronger, a lot stronger for it. You know, we didn't, when you think about when they talk about the founding fathers with regards to, New England and Boston and all them cunts, we didn't really encroach any further inland than about 100 miles or so for the first fucking 200 years or 100 years or whatever. It only came after the Civil War where they decided, the powers that be, the regime of the time decided, oh yeah, there's shitloads of land going west that way. If you fuck off over there and start colonizing these areas where the natives are not going to be quite fucking receptive, you can take your piece of land for 10 quid, have a fucking entire farm for 10 quid because it's yours. And if the Indians get a bit uppity, well, you'll hopefully get a fucking, what's he called? What was that name? That general fucking Armstrong, Custer. Thingy Custer will come along and save you fucking arses, because that's the way it was. But the reverse isn't true. So those same, if you're from that same founding father diaspora, as we say here, then you'd be welcomed back with open arms. Now, if we are talking about a totem pole of who the fuck you want in your country at any given time, then of course we are going to want the native British diaspora to return back to Britain. Yeah, not just England, but Britain. Yeah?
Yeah.
And if we want to fling that net slightly further afield, then if we wanted, instead of having fucking low IQ, no marks from Africa or Pakistan or wherever, well, of course, we're going to want Western Europeans. So, Germans, Dutch, fucking, the Benelux countries, we want those Nordic countries, the Norwegians, the Icelandics, the Finnish, the Swedish. Of course, then you'd be second pick, yeah? But if there's a choice, you're second pick. And then third pick is the rest of Europe, And then, there is nothing beyond that, because we don't want any cunt here who's not from Europe, because you have no skin in the game. Even if we were fucking enemies, like the fucking Spanish and the English and the French and the English, we still had that commonality between one another. We fucking hated each other for hundreds of years. And now we are a common spirit. No different to the battles that we fought between ourselves, England and Scotland. Yeah, if you look at all of the battles that we fought between England and Scotland, we were next door to one another. And yet there's no other fucking relationship in Europe that's closer. But that's the part of a feudal system where we had to annex where we tried to annex each other's resources. And let's face it, Deej, England, we fucking failed. We never took over Scotland. We never did that. In fact, as I often say, much to your fucking chagrin, we gifted you the whole of
I would argue,
England.
I would sorry to interrupt there. I would argue that on a few occasions, historically speaking, England did sort of decimate and or took over Scotland, but despite that, there are still distinct differences even between the Scots and the English, and that's my point. Like, maybe I'm too pernickety. Maybe I am far too pernickety. And like, in terms of I want you to take a fucking DNA test. Do your 23andMe, do your Ancestry.com, etc. Let's see who you are. Let's see who you really fucking are. And then it might get revealed that you're like fucking 45% Ashkenazi Jew, 10% French, and the rest of you is Scottish. Like, I don't know.
Ashkenazi.
The Scottish and the fucking English, they're different people. Like, and what annoys me is like, I don't say that to be like argumentative. Like, I don't like we're just different people. Like, we've got different histories. Yeah, historically speaking, there's been multiple umpteen fucking wars and battles and conquering back and forth over the centuries, historically speaking, well before even our grandparents were born. But like, why is it so like distasteful to like just point out that we're different people? Like, it's not a problem as far as I'm concerned. We are just different people. We have different histories, like ethnicity wise. Like this race pish annoys me. Like, I'll roll for the white race, mate. Oh, is that right? Aye. But like, all the time when you hear this shit from people that say that, like, white people, I love white people. Yeah, but then you sort of press them on that and they go, okay, so like you might live in like a hypothetical tiny wee town or village outside a city. Would you be fine with Germans or French or Finnish people moving in abundance to your town and or village? No. When you're not pro-white, are you? Like, that annoys me. Like, I don't know, but like, you raised a good point there, and I think I did raise that prior to you speaking about it as diaspora. I like, obviously, me and you will never ever be in a position of position of power and or government. But like, I think that diaspora is probably the best way to try and resolve, to a certain extent. It's not going to finish all of your problems, but like, diaspora is a very, very good way of trying to resolve, or the very bare minimum, mediate your issues, country-wise speaking. Where's the Scottish government reaching out to the Scottish diaspora? And I've got this up on the screen right now, and I'm not going to fucking read the whole thing out, but it says, it's been estimated that the Scottish diaspora has been estimated by the Scottish government to be about between 28 to 40 million people worldwide. Like, there is a multitude of people out there who have claim to Scottish heritage. That's who we should be reaching out to try and come back here, to try and rectify our negative birth rates. That's the people we should be reaching out to try and reverse the trends up at present. But no, it's fine. We'll just import fucking Senegalese people or Germans or Indians, etc. But yeah, what's your opinion on that, Sensum?
No,
like, the English diaspora, because I don't know what the English diaspora count is. I could probably Google it right now, but like I would go out on a limb and say it's probably double that of Scottish diaspora.
It's probably a lot higher than Scotland, but I would
Yeah, I
say
would say that.
100% that if you were to reclaim Scottish people based on the diaspora, shall we say, you know, whatever that term means.
Mhm.
But one thing that I would say is in the general terms with regards to the British Isles, there is an economist and he was born and raised in Glasgow. He's a product of the welfare system. He is now Professor Emeritus of Brown University. And this chap's called Professor Mark Blythe. You may have heard of him. And his argument is, why would you want to align yourself more? This was all when the Brexit shit was going off, yeah? And his argument was, why, from a Scottish National Party, which was anything but a national party, it was a globalist party, his argument was, why would you want to align yourself with a group, or, you know, like sort of an intercontinental group of people who don't give a fuck about you one way or the other? Why would you want to trade that for a diaspora, if you like, you know, a British diaspora that actually genuinely cares what happens to you? So in other words, what he was saying was, and I echo this probably more than anyone else, because I have on my grandmother's side Scottish heritage, you know, why would you want to align yourselves with a group or a consortium who don't have that same care or affinity with the people who you know and love? And like I say, it doesn't matter if that's a one-way street, because, like I say, there's a lot of bad blood because of historical reasons between Scotland and England and Wales and England. But in the most part, the English people in particular, you know, you would say, oh, well, yeah, that's because you like had this, that, and the other. It's like, no, it's not fucking to do with that. It's more to do with the fact that we appreciate what the Scottish people are, who they are, what they bring to the table. The same with the Welsh people. It's not a sort of a, you know, a feel to response. It's more of a kindred response. Now, me speaking that personally is just my opinion, and a lot of Scottish people would say, oh, a lot of Welsh people would say, oh, a lot of Irish people would say, oh. But the reality is, I have an inbuilt fondness for Scottish people, Irish people, and Welsh people, Cornish people, because they consider themselves separate. Did you know that, Deej? The Corns, the Cornish people, they consider themselves disparate to the English people. Did you know that? Yeah, the Corns, they consider themselves, yeah, they consider themselves different to the English people, but I love them all the same. I would much rather have. I would much. I have a much more fondness and kinship with all of those people, whether it be Ireland, Scotland, Wales, or Corns, if they want to term themselves as that separate diaspora, than I do for anybody who currently lives in America. I don't care what your fucking caliber of heritage is, or Australia, you're a fucking criminal if you can fucking date your way back to wherever, or you New Zealanders or whatever. Now, that's not to say I don't love my Australian cousins or my Canadian cousins or my New Zealand cousins or my whatever cousins, because I do. What I'm saying is that we have far more in common with the people closest to us, both geographically and also genetically. And if you can't separate the two, then we end up in this endless loop
impact
of
Brexit.
civnatism.
Sorry.
We end up in this endless loop of civnatism, and civnatism will be the ultimate downfall of any nation, because there will always be a champion from the civnat group who will say, yes, but, and they will steelman the exception and they will strawman the rule, and therefore we still lose because their morals, their sensibilities are steeped in their own judgments of the world, not on how the world should be. And how the world should be is pretty much akin to how the rest of the world operates outside of the West and the wider Anglosphere, which is, we are this, we come first, the rest of you cunts can fuck right off, which is the default in every single other country, other than those that have been poisoned by propaganda to hate themselves. Anyway, mate, I'll let you play this video.
Amen to that, by the way. Yeah. But I'll play this. This will be the last wee clip, and we'll get your wee thoughts, and then I'll fucking end this.
On Scotland's rural economy specifically, and my amendment calling for the UK government to grant powers to the Scottish government to set its own priorities for immigration to support the rural economy. I lodged this amendment driven by a wealth of evidence that indicates that our rural labour market desperately needs inward migration. The Scottish Government's action plan to address depopulation noted that 14 rural council areas are projected to decline in population over the next decade. And a Spice brief... Yes?
Cabinet Secretary Angus Robinson.
I commend Ariane Burgess for bringing up the advantages of differentiated immigration systems. Would she acknowledge that this works perfectly well in both Canada and Australia? And if it's possible to have differentiated immigration systems in countries like that, why would it not be possible to do that in the UK? And why would it not be a sensible suggestion that the new UK government should look at?
Ariane Burgess.
If this kind of differentiation works in other countries, I absolutely agree. We could do it in Scotland and the United Kingdom. We have that level of intelligence. We can figure it out. A Spice briefing issued at the same time stated that stakeholders and communities across Scotland have repeatedly highlighted that the current UK immigration system, particularly following the end of freedom of movement, does not meet the needs of rural and island communities.
Do you know, before I let you jump in for the final point of this wee video here, they have been banging on in the Scottish Parliament for years now about a rural visa pilot, etc., or demanding, screeching, squealing, and complaining about having devolved immigration powers. And they always refer to the Highlands and the Islands. Speaking as a fucking Highlander, I'm a Scottish Highlander. I do not want to see my city and or the towns that are within close proximity to me being full to the brim of immigrants. Alternatively, though, I totally understand the fact that, for the best part of 2 to 3 decades, there has been next to no incentive for young people to procreate, have families, and whatnot. It's almost like they created these problems themselves, governmentally speaking, and then they just provide, problem reaction solution type fucking solution, so to speak. But they keep banging on and on and on and on and on about rural communities need immigrants, etc. Fruit pickers, we need immigrants for fruit pickers, etc. Why don't they prioritize their own people? They don't, and that's not to take anything away from the islands in and of themselves. There's clearly an issue going on at present with a lot of the Scottish Isles and the Highlands in general, for that matter, where the vast majority of the population in each and every individual island across the sort of northwest of Scotland is majority elderly people, and the young people that are born, they tend to fucking move to the mainland and whatnot. But there's nothing to incentivize them to stay there. Nothing at all. And it goes back to the previous question that I asked you earlier on. It's like we should be trying to incentivize. If I was in a position of power, which I'll never will be, it'd be trying to incentivize the diaspora to come home, you know? Because even in of itself, acknowledging that there is a diaspora is to acknowledge that there is a Scottish people. And even if we were talking about fucking Wales, even if we were talking about Germany, even if we were talking about fucking Senegal, if we were saying the same things, then the same things would be applicable. Then if you were to acknowledge there is a diaspora, then you are acknowledging that there is a specific people. The islands of Scotland and the Highlands in and of itself, bar Inverness, where I live on the periphery of Inverness, is the capital of the Highlands, as they say. It's the only city in the Highlands, right? But a good portion of people that are leaving the Highlands, the island, sorry, a good portion of people that are moving away from, whether it be the Isle of Lewis, whether it be whatever other island, Shetland, etc., they're all moving to Inverness, right? These are people who ordinarily, whether if there was fucking job opportunities, housing opportunities, etc., they would remain where they are. You know, there is nothing for these people. That's why they are leaving. Okay, this is like the Highland Clearances 2.0. Like that's what it is. You are going to see in my fucking lifetime. You are going to see in my lifetime. Right? I'm 29 years of age. By the time I get to 49 years of age or fucking 69 years of age, what you are going to see is a good portion of the islands that surround the Scottish periphery in a geographical sense, atlas-wise, dormant, inactive, gone, because it's full to the brim of pensioners, it's full to the brim of retired people, and their children or their grandchildren are moving to the mainland. They're moving to Inverness. You know, it's done. It's fucking done. But what I really fucking detest, is the fact that our government, and I know I get it, they lack the inability to speak from the heart. They just read from their scripts. They never question why these things are occurring. They never put into practice things that could reverse trends. They never even question why trends are at present on the rise. And what I mean by that is, you know, declining birth rates, etc. Where is the motions and policies being put into place to try and reverse the birth rate trends? Where is the policies and the motions to put affordable housing into place and into practice to try and get young and upcoming couples on the property ladder? Where is the reversal in an educational sense in schools and whatnot, away from teaching little Jenny and Dorothy, etc.? Oh, you need to pursue careers. Where's the incentive for, or the encouragement, or the promotion of motherhood, etc.? You know, there's so many things that they could be doing, and it goes all the way back full circle. Diaspora. If you are that stumped, if you are that fucking stumped on what could be done going forward, then at the very bare minimum, open the door to the diaspora. But they can't do that, and this is my opinion. They can't open the door to the diaspora because in order to acknowledge that there is a diaspora, you indirectly concede that there is a specific people of, or a specific group of people. Okay, Scottish diaspora. Okay, anybody can be Scottish. Okay, fine. But then how can there be a Scottish diaspora? Anybody can be English. Okay, then how can there be an English diaspora? If you are genuinely scratching your head and you're confused as to what could be done to go forward, open the door, an open invitation to the diaspora. 40 million people apparently are Scottish. or have Scottish heritage. Get these people home. Get these fucking people home. But you won't do that, will you? Of course not. And I'll give the final word to Sensum before I end this. What's your thoughts on my wee rant there, mate?
Well, I think it's correct, because obviously, if you need to bring people into your country because, the system or the regime, as we were saying, are dead against incentivizing the natural grown population, then of course this is the way that it's been sold to the rest of the modern world, as it were. And I'm sure you've seen the incidents that have been occurring in Japan recently, where they've decided they're going to replace their own population decline with immigrants from like fucking Africa, and it's not working out great for them. So if you genuinely wanted to bolster the numbers of Scottish people or whoever, English people or whoever, then surely you want to recruit from your own diaspora. In other words, the people who are founded in that same sense and sensibilities of the people that preceded them. Unfortunately, most of the evil demons in Holyrood and in Westminster and in Stormont, etc., they just say, oh, well, we'll just replace them with anybody. And that doesn't work, because the anybody person comes to these lands with their hands out and what can you do for me? Which is the completely not a different mindset, where if you're from these lands or you have an affinity to these lands, which would be, what can I do for you? There's a world of difference there. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, you should be a slave to the system. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you have the mindset of somebody who can perform and produce that is a net benefit to society, whilst also sustaining your own and your family's own situation in life, as opposed to, I hate these fuckers, but I'm going to go there anyway, and I'm going to rape their fucking welfare system so that they look after me and support me, and I'll do my utmost to fucking shit on them at every single turn, which is what we get when it is, Middle East, Far Eastern, Middle Eastern, well, not necessarily Far Eastern, but, Pakistani in particular, shall we say, yeah? And African cohorts that come into these lands, they've got no, like I say, the regime will steel man the rule. Well, they say, look at Mtembe here. He used to walk 8 miles to lick out of a puddle and eat fucking, 2 grains of rice and a bowl of flies for his life. He's now become a top doctor in London, in Harley Street. Yeah, but for every one of those fucking Mtembes, there's like 900,000 of the cunts who come here and do nothing. They do nothing for this country. Nothing at all. Doesn't matter if it's in England, Scotland, Wales, or wherever. They come here because we are the land of milk and honey. They want to do fuck all, and they'll lin off the benefits. But the regime and the chattering classes will steel man that exception and straw man the rule, which is they actually fucking, they are of no benefit to the society whatsoever. Which people are going to want to make a society better and greater if you were to import them into your country. The people who have no fucking societal or genetic link to those homelands, who are only looking for a handout, or those people who, yes, you went far afield, as part of the betterment of the fucking, the regime as it was back in the day. but now we want you to come back because you still have those same sense and sensibilities that we had. And when you get here, we know you'll want to probably do what's in the best interest of this country, put your chev in, do your bit, fucking provide for this country or whatever. And everybody says, like, why would you provide for the country? Yeah, that's because that's what the regime has propagandized into people. The little bundle of sticks with a fucking thing wrapped around it, strength in unity. That's a bad fucking term now. You can't have that now, can you? Because everything has to be divisive. So diversity, which is based in the word, the same etymology of the word division, that's what needs to be applauded now. And the only reason why that needs to be applauded is because the more divisive a peoples are in their homelands, the easier they are to control, because the regime can always face one group off against the other, and it doesn't matter if those people are in Scotland or in Wales or in England. I mean, in fairness, Deej, England's a fucking fallen country now, as the way that it stands now, unless we start deporting all of the criminal cunts and we start massively incentivizing voluntary repatriation. England is a fallen country. What that bitch is advocating for is that Scotland should do the same fucking thing. Well, I say to that fucking 304, no, bitch. Scotland won't go down that same fucking path as England, nor will Wales. And more to the point, you shouldn't have any fucking power in the say anyway, because you're a fucking traitorous hoe.
But that's my point, and I am gonna fucking wrap things up here after this. I'll let you interject after I've said what I have to say here. But like, regardless of whether it's Scotland, Northern Ireland, or even fucking like the Republic of Ireland, Wales, and or England, it doesn't matter. Like, the excuse that you hear all the time, oh, we need to open the doors, safe and legal. Sustainable routes for immigrants because of a aging population, etc. Why not? Why? It's rhetorical when I say this. Why do they just open the borders to every Tom, Dick, Abdul, and fucking Muhammad, but they never look to their fucking diaspora? Like, in the course of my tenure on Telegram, right? I've been on Telegram since 2020. I've spoken to 4 people. 3 out of the 4, like, when I say like I've spoken to 4 people, obviously I've spoken to a lot more people, but like, I've spoken to 4 people who have admitted and or conceded that they have got Scottish heritage, etc. 3 out of the 4 of those people have said that in an instance, if they had the ability to do so, financially speaking, they would move back to Scotland because they considered themselves to be Scottish. Like, why isn't our government, my government, in this instance, focusing on these people? And that goes for England as well. There is a myriad of people all across the world who have got English ancestry. Why aren't you homing in on them? Why aren't you putting programs into place, corridors, metaphorically speaking, put into place? Why aren't you putting things into place to try and encourage some of these people to come here? They're not doing that. And my observation is this, very clearly. They cannot concede there is such a thing as a Scottish diaspora, in my context, because in doing so, they indirectly concede that there is such a thing as a Scottish people. And the same principle applies for England. In order for the government and or the mainstream media to say that there is such a thing as an English diaspora, they indirectly admit and or concede that there is such a thing as an English people. Same principle applies for any other country that you wish to copy and paste into that fucking sentence I just said there. That's why they won't do it. As far as I'm concerned, that's why they won't do it. But that's what I would do if I was in power, if I had any ability to influence governmental policy. You know, instead of opening the borders to whomever wishes to come here. Oh, my name is Thomas, and I want to come here and be a doctor. Fuck off, mate. I don't care. I don't give a shit. We need to get our kin home if they wish to come home. You know, 40 million people apparently, Scottish diaspora, right? Even if you got like a point of a fucking 0.% to come back here, that would reverse the birth rates overnight. They won't do that. Why? Because in order to concede that there's such a thing as a Scottish diaspora, you're conceding that there was such a thing as the Scottish people. That's my opinion. I'll give the last word to you, Sensum, before I end this. It's up to you, mate, what you want to say. But that is my thoughts. It's been my thoughts for a long time, Ooh. Must be away doing a jobby. Oh, well. Sensum, are you there, right? No? Yeah? No?
Sorry, mate. I started speaking, and it was only when you started interrupting I realised I was on fucking mute.
Your final thoughts, and then I'll play this outro. But like,
yeah.
go for it.
My final thoughts is that if it doesn't matter where the diaspora originated from, or where where their homelands are, it doesn't matter, because, like I say, there are, millions of Korean and Japanese diaspora who currently live in the United States, who, when you look at the birth rates of the Japanese people and the Southern Korean people in particular, they are failing even worse than what we are. And we're at 1.44 or something stupid like that. Those countries should incentivize their people to go back to their homelands. And it's the same with wherever country it happens to be. The problem that it is that the powers that be want to supplant those people with people from other lands who are, shall we say, cheaper in the labour workforce when they indeed decide to work, because a lot of them don't. A lot of them just become a net drain on society. So I think you're right. If they did admit that, yes, there is a Scottish diaspora, and I honestly believe that the way things are going now, particularly in the likes of the United States and in Australia, potentially even Canada, where they have, these asinine laws, these totalitarian laws, these misinformation and, if you're not all part of the current thing, the wokeism, if you like, then we're going to demonize you, which is no different in Scotland. But if you got all of those same like-minded people in Scotland, then you would have the influential vote there. Maybe that's the reason why, the powers that be in Scotland don't want to return their own diaspora back to Scotland, because that would mean that they would immediately or very soon, get a push against the woke shit, get a push against the, the multiculti bullshit that we've all been fed. The same in England, the same in Wales. I just, it's a no-brainer. If you are not going to incentivize your own people, and by that I mean in the real sense, your own native people to reproduce. In other words, you're going to demonize birth and whatever, except in certain communities like the the fucking Humza Yousaf communities, etc., where it's, this is just so wonderful. You've got 3,000 children that 3,000 people are paying for, on your behalf. That's just wonderful, isn't it? But it doesn't work like that. If they're not going to promote birth rates, etc., like what they're doing in Poland and in Hungary, for instance, then your only recourse is to recall the people who have the most affinity with you, and that is your diaspora around the world, wherever that may be. And like I say, those people who you incentivize to come in, you can immediately equalize that by the monies that you would pay to send the other cunts who have no position being here whatsoever to fuck them off back to where they're from. Because what you're actually doing is you're replacing a non-productive element of society, which is just a drain on that society, with an absolutely productive element of society, and one that will be happy to be where it is, one that will have affinity with the land, one that has a link to the soil, the blood and soil thing, which everybody says, oh, that doesn't exist. It does fucking exist. Like I say, there's a reason why every fucking St. Patrick's Day in Chicago, they turn that fucking, the Hudson River green, is because they all think they're fucking Irish. So do you think for one moment the same isn't true for Scottish people living in Chicago or in wherever, in Australia or wherever? Yes, they would. They would be, if you incentivize them to come back, not only would they come back, they'd be a massive boost to the economy, far greater exceeding any fucking shit that we get at the moment currently from people who literally see us as a fucking ATM, and a national ATM for their disposal. Fuck them off. Yeah. And I would say that's the truth for every country around the world. Every country around the world that is currently suffering problems of repopulation rates, etc., whether that be Japan, South Korea, any country in Europe, get your people back. If they've been living in fucking America for 2 or 3 generations, get them back. Welcome them with open arms, because they are your people. And they
Exactly. Exactly. Like, my God, man. Like, exactly. I could not have said it better myself. Like, I've been saying that shit for years, But regardless, amen to you, Sensum. I'm gonna end this stream now. Don't hang about in the backstage. I'm gonna fucking play this tune, and we'll catch up at a later date. But you are fucking on point with that. If you're in a position of power, get your fucking people home, or the very bare minimum, encourage your people to come home. But regardless, yeah, Sensum, before you leave, if you've got anything you want to plug going forward, feel free. But go for it, mate.
Yeah, well, on Monday night, I've got tomorrow night, I'm on a stream with Bonnie Ladd, with Scottish Time, hopefully, which is the usual Saturday night stream. And then Monday night, I'm on with William on my channel, William, which is That's Life But Not As We Know It. And we're going to be talking about dystopia and fucking conspiracy theories, which is great. I love that shit. So, yeah, but yeah, that's all I've got to say, mate. And like I say, everything I've just said there now is from the heart, and it's what I genuinely believe.
And it's very much what I agree with. So yeah, you could argue it's an echo chamber, or maybe you could just argue that, like, albeit everything Simpsons about fucking big brain, maybe I'm just a bit of big brain too. Regardless, mate, we will catch up at a later date. All right, so I'm gonna play this tune, and then I will end it. So we'll catch up at a later date. All right, mate.
No bother.
Adios. Adios.
you.